I have not watched Quiet on Sight yet. You guys know that I'm going to tune in for that. But something interesting that I noticed about Drake Bell, it's nothing groundbreaking, so sorry if it's anticlimactic. But obviously we know that he was abused. Is that sad? Of course. It's heartbreaking. It's unfair. It shouldn't happen to anybody. Does he have his own allegations? Yes. Do abused people abuse people? Yes. Do hurt people? Yes. One thing I'll say about that, I think if you follow me, you probably know my opinion on all of this already. It's the cycle of abuse. If I sat here and said, actually Dan Schneider, his dad, raped him every single day of his life, like, we wouldn't feel bad for Dan Schneider. I think partially, too, when people tend to be attracted to people, we forgive them more for their crimes. Dan Schneider's easy to hate because he's a creepy old guy and he's not attractive. Drake Bell is like someone that was a lot of children's childhood heartthrob. Maybe boys growing up thought he was super cool, played the guitar. It's easy to forgive someone even if they do something awful if you're attracted to them. That's why people like Chris Brown, every rapper under the sun, thrives, even though they abuse people, women in particular. But with that being said, some of his allegations, to my knowledge, I don't think that he was ever accused of raping somebody, to my knowledge, okay? I didn't do like hardcore research like I typically do with other things, but I did see something about him grooming someone since they were 12, like a child, a minor. I don't care if she said she was older. An adult knows if somebody is 12 or not, okay? It's not that confusing. A lot of people had that defense with 6ix9ine too, when he raped a 13-year-old on camera. People said, well, she said she was 21 at the club. She was at the club. Please, we need to stop with this. Let me get back to the point. I'm sorry. This stuff gets me so heated. Like, I kind of feel like I'm not going to be able to watch this documentary. But what I wanted to say that I thought was interesting was that there is a clip in the, like, one of the previews that I saw of Drake Bell saying, basically they want him to elaborate on the abuse, and he's saying, listen, just like imagine the worst thing you could imagine, and that's what happened. Let me just show you the clip.
Think of the worst stuff that someone can do to somebody as a sexual assault, and that'll answer your question.
The reason I thought his word choice was interesting, and listen, maybe I'm reaching, you can say that I'm reaching and it's valid, but I was looking at old articles of the ex-girlfriend who accused him of abusing her. This is her name is Melissa Lingefeld. I think that's how you pronounce it. They dated a long time ago, from 2006 to 2009. She was 16, he was 20. She said that it was both verbal and physical, and that it escalated to a point of like him throwing her down the stairs. She has photos of the abuse that she says, but they weren't included in the article. The article went live in 2020, just to be clear, but this is referring to the fact that she was making TikTok videos showing direct message conversations from other people that were accusing Drake of abuse. Someone anonymously told her that he statutorily raped a 15-year-old when he was 20. She also posted this on her story, saying that nobody wants attention from abuse. I wish people made that point more clear. I wish more people understood that. It's obvious. Those TikTok videos have since been deleted, of course, but the thing that I found interesting was that in one of the quotes that she had in the article, it said, and when I say verbal abuse, imagine the worst type of verbal abuse you could ever imagine, and that is what I got. If you've ever dealt with an abuser of any kind, whether it was romantic, familial, anything, or like a narcissist of some sort, you know that they love taking your language and your expressions of, you telling them you are abusing me, this is what you're doing, X, Y, and Z, and they love adopting it from you, stealing it from you, and then using it against you. And I would say in other cases, some types of abusers and narcissists love to, I don't even know the word for it. You can tell me if there's a terminology, vocabulary word for it, because I would love to have something to solidify what I'm about to explain. It's a concept where an abuser will really psychologically screw with you by saying something publicly or in front of a group of your friends, or in a setting where there's other people around and they're speaking, but the things and the word choice and the exact phrases that they use are something that only you will understand in a very specific way. Let me explain this better. I don't even know. This is why shit like this is so annoying to deal with in real life, because it's not something you can explain without like sounding like you're insane. But I would say like a more mundane practical example could be like you explaining to your boyfriend that oh my god, I'm self-conscious of my weight, like I wish I could get dessert at restaurants, but like I always feel like I can't because I don't want to be fat. And that's like a conversation you have in private, and then you guys go out to dinner with a group of friends or something like that, and there's someone else's girlfriend is at this dinner with you, and she orders the cake for dessert, and your boyfriend, even though you just had this conversation, is like, come on, get the cake, why don't you want the cake, and starts picking on you and teasing you, and you're like, I don't want the cake. And then the girlfriend is like, you know, I always get dessert or something like that. And then your boyfriend says, you know, I love a girl that doesn't care about calories and stuff and can just get the cake. You know, something that just, it sears into your brain to know that it's a personal attack. In a more extreme example, it could be something like, I don't know, maybe if you have like a narcissistic political family member or something, like this would be a husband and a wife who maybe are a little bit more public facing, and the husband abuses the kids, right? And the wife says something like, listen, you can abuse me, you can do all this to me, I just want to protect the children. And then your husband, you know, is at a charity event because he's a politician, and during one of his speeches of some charity organization he's doing, he says, I just care about protecting the children. It's these very, very specific, like calculated. The objective is to make you feel crazy, make you feel isolated, and it's a fear tactic. It's to intimidate you into staying into your place. Again, I might be reading into it too much. I don't necessarily think he was like creating this diabolical plan and saying this as a callback to what the girlfriend said in the article. But I just thought it was funny that his ex-girlfriend, someone he was very close with, who accused him of abuse, gave a specific quote to a magazine that said, listen, if you're going to ask me what he's done to me, said to me, imagine the worst thing you possibly could. And that's exactly what I went through with him. And then when he's reflecting on his own abuse, he says, listen, imagine the worst thing that you could do to someone. That's what I went through. And that's not to say that he didn't go through awful things. I absolutely believe him. I do not have a doubt in my mind that he's been abused. I think it's very clear everyone in that environment has. But you need to be careful, especially as a woman. This is the thing. Especially as women who are more inclined to be very empathetic and protective and maternal towards adults, but adults that were once children. Your empathetic bone will be heavily played with and taken advantage of, especially if you have not gone through experiences like this where you know better. And that's why people like Drake Bell, who, okay, can we sit here and say maybe he hasn't done the worst things in the world? Sure. My point isn't fuck Drake Bell. Like, let's not feel bad for him. That's not my point. I do feel bad for him. My point is that this is a pattern we're seeing time and time again, where men who might have or might not have been abused, Drake Bell has, completely obliterate the lives of women or other children or even younger boys, anyone that they deem smaller and weaker than them that they can take advantage of. And women are like, oh, but it's sad, like, but he was a victim. That instant response, that instant, but it's sad, that instant, but they're a victim and I have empathy for them, is exactly why women get taken advantage of so often. Almost every woman that has been in an abusive relationship, if they know that the dad abused them, the mom abused them, that knowledge is exactly why they stay for so long, because they feel bad. The reason it's pissing me off so much is because it didn't end with just maybe a crazy long ex-girlfriend, but that multiple people have come out and said that they have had an experience, or they know a whole bunch of other people that have had an experience similar to this with him, that he pleaded guilty initially to endangering children by grooming them online, and then later took a plea deal and said that he was sorry, basically. You can pause this and read it. The fact that she's describing it as indescribable, the amount of pain. Here we are again with another exposing documentary about child abuse, exploitation. And everybody, once again, is missing the entire point, because if they really, really, really wanted to change the world and make an impact with this, it would have been profoundly impactful for Drake Bell to sit in that chair and say, this is what I went through, and believe it, because I did it to somebody else. And this is what we need to acknowledge here, is the fact that I am in the cycle. I'm guilty of it. It's scary. We need to stop it. Instead, he has a new song out. He has a new music video. He's in the public eye again. And we'll be able to keep doing this over and over again.